After a bit of a letdown against the Baltimore Ravens, the 49ers were still in a position to secure the number 1 seed, but they would have to go across the country on a short week and play a little bit banged up against a Washington Commanders team. But I was really proud of the way the 49ers played in this game. They played within themselves. They took what the defense gave them. And by the end of this game, the 49ers rolled up a 27-10 victory. Welcome to Josh's Football Breakdowns, where we don't tell you what you're seeing, we let the film tell us what we're seeing. And as you can see, I've let the 49ers' first drive just kind of run in the background here. They really nickel and dimed the Commanders all the way down the field. Eventually, they would face a 2nd and 4 at the 47-yard line. The 49ers would start out by putting Kyle Juszczyk in motion. He would be the lead blocker for Christian McCaffrey on this play. And what I would expect to see from the Commanders' defense would be for the defensive line to flow in that direction. Instead, they rush forward, and the linebackers hesitate just a minute. And when you hesitate, you become a spectator. They do nothing to clog up any of those gaps on the offensive line, and several offensive linemen are able to get upfield. It's a 13-yard gain on the play, and what I've just shown you is the 49ers' longest play from scrimmage on this opening drive. The 49ers ran the ball well on this opening drive, with 5 separate rushes to this point. So here on 1st and 10, they try to catch the Commanders with a pass. And Brock Purdy would start out looking at the very dangerous Deebo Samuel, and the Commanders are ready for it. They know what a special player Deebo is, and they triple team him on this play. But take a look at the other side of the formation. When Brandon Aiyuk cuts across the field, he takes the defender with him, leaving nobody back deep to stop Kyle Juszczyk, who's absolutely smoked the defender on the wheel route. Pinpoint throw from Purdy, catch, and doesn't complete the process as he goes to the ground, so that would be an incomplete pass. And the officials would rule this contact incidental, and I'm okay with that call. The 49ers would call on Jake Moody, who's been adding a lot of field goals in recent weeks, and he knocks this one through as well. The 49ers take an early lead in this game, 3-0. And they would get the ball back. And you may have noticed it was 3rd down and 9. This would be a big 3rd down early. The Commanders don't want to go down multiple scores to the 49ers, so they need to stop them on these 3rd and long situations. So here, they put 6 men up at the line of scrimmage. But as it turns out, they would only rush with these 4, dropping these 2 back into coverage. But they would add one last little trick. They would send the linebacker on the delayed blitz. And Washington tried this several times throughout this game. This was clearly part of their defensive game plan coming in. And the real impressive part of this play is Christian McCaffrey reading those defenders dropping back and then turning his attention to the blitzer and picking him up in pass protection. It's very impressive, and it allows the 49ers to take some of these deeper shots on 3rd and long situations, which is important. And here they would go to Brandon Aiyuk. So what's going on here? Well, the Commanders are in a zone. Deebo Samuel would run off his defender, and Burgess would be responsible for Ronnie Bell. But what about Cody Barton? Well, he's in a zone too, and he's got to think about George Kittle coming across into his area. The Commanders don't have enough defenders in the right areas to cover all 3 players at the same time. Putting these zone defenders in conflict is part of the mastery of the Kyle Shanahan offense. Brock Purdy makes the right read, and it's a 17-yard gain on the play. And this play does not happen without the pass protection by Christian McCaffrey. On the very next play, the 49ers would send 5 receivers into the pattern this time. This means that if Washington sends a blitz, which they do, the 49er offensive line would be on their own. Now let's take a look at Deebo Samuel, and take a look at the defender who's guarding him. He's set up ever so slightly to the outside. So Deebo Samuel goes to the inside. And Brock Purdy gets him the football. Back-to-back chunks for the 49ers, and this time it was a 16-yard gain, but you may have noticed that pass was a little bit behind Deebo. Why? Well, Brock Purdy's feet aren't quite lined up in that direction. If he had lined up his feet a little bit more towards Deebo, he would find that the football would go a little bit more where he wants to put it. On the Commanders' end, look at the blitz by Hudson. He sees Trent Williams waiting for him and decides to try to find another route. The 49ers were quick and decisive, and this blitz had no chance of getting home. The 49ers would cap off the drive by presenting the Commanders with two difficult choices. At the snap, take a look at the foot of Christian McCaffrey. He's taking a step to his right, and the offensive linemen are doing the same thing. Understandably, this time the defense reacts. But check out Charlie Warner. After taking a step to the right, he immediately reverses field and goes to his left. He's going to be a lead blocker on the play. But what about the defender in front of him? Well, he's going to be unblocked. But remember, he's taking a step to the right first. By the time he has any hope of getting upfield, Deebo Samuel has blown right by him. From this angle, we get a great look at how the defense reacts and how the play especially slows down James Smith-Williams. It's a touchdown for the 49ers, and even in tough conditions at the end of a long season, they just make it look so easy. And they take a 10-3 lead. The Commanders would respond with their own version of the pop pass to Terry McLaurin. But keep in mind, the ball is still in the quarterback's hands as of this moment. The 49er defense doesn't know who's getting the ball. And with Brian Robinson Jr. cutting the other way, they're a little unsure of how to react. Dre Greenlaw charges ahead, while Fred Warner and Tashawn Gibson hesitate. Ultimately, it would be the newly added safety Logan Ryan who would make the play. A few plays later, the Commanders would be facing a 3rd down and 2. Now the 49er defense decides to defend this by sticking all of their defenders right at the line to gain. And this turns out to be a good idea. The Commander receivers are all running these little stick routes. Everybody except for Terry McLaurin. And with Deommodore Lenoir defending the 1st down, he's already beaten on the play. It's a nice pass, and it's a 42-yard gain for the Commanders. And Washington had excellent pass protection on this play. Say it with me. Would he need to throw the ball deep? Time. On the goal line, Sam Howell decides to take the one-on-one matchup between Terry McLaurin and Ambry Thomas. Thomas makes a pretty valiant effort here in pass defense, but Terry McLaurin just has excellent body control, and he comes up with the catch. McLaurin had a strong game against the 49ers last season when these two teams met, and after this game, he said he hopes someday to be a part of a championship culture like one that exists in San Francisco. As one of the NFL's best young receivers, it seems fitting that he should be able to do that at some point. And shout out to the official for making a one-handed catch after the play. So we're tied at 10 apiece, and with about 4 minutes to go in the second quarter, the 49ers would like to add on some points before the end of the half. They start out by putting Charlie Warner in motion, and nobody from the Commanders goes with him, telling the 49ers that they're probably in a zone defense here. And here we see Emmanuel Forbes is doing a good job of sticking with Brandon Aiyuk. Maybe a little bit too good of a job. Forbes is just a rookie, and his back is turned. He doesn't know quite when to hand him off and to pick up George Kittle, who's cutting to the sideline. One more thing I want to mention on this play, here the 49ers have sent the other tight end, Charlie Warner, out on a pass route. They haven't done a whole lot of that this season. In seasons past, we've taken a look on this channel, including the very first year we were on the air, where they had done that late in the year to catch teams by surprise. Well, in this case, the Commanders don't fall for it. They're ready for Charlie Warner, but Brock Purdy spots the open George Kittle. Last week, the 49ers had to shuffle around a lot of pieces on their offensive line. So, how are they doing this week? Well, we can see that Jon Feliciano is in for the injured Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks is expected to return for the playoffs. And how about Colton McKivitz? He struggled a little bit last week, but this week he did excellent in pass protection. On the very next play, the 49ers send Charlie Warner out on a route again. Just something to keep an eye on over these next several weeks. And once again, we see the Commanders only rushing with 4 and then sending the linebacker on the delayed blitz. Who then is going to pick up Deebo Samuel when he cuts back to the middle of the field? Well, another rookie defensive player for the Commanders, Martin, decides to drop down and picking up, leaving Brandon Aiyuk. Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan are already good at picking apart these zone defenses and putting these zone defenders in conflict. If you're going to send the blitz, forget about it. And with only one safety back deep for the Commanders, we can see Brock Purdy reading that side of the field first, holding the safety there with his eyes, and then coming back to Brandon Aiyuk and throwing a strike. The 49ers would put themselves in position to add 3 more points with Jake Moody, and he knocks it through. Moody's coming on strong at the end of the season here, scoring a lot of points for the 49ers, and I can already hear some of the fans, cringing a little bit, saying, hey, it's great that you're praising Jake Moody here, but we want touchdowns. We don't want to settle for field goals. I understand how you feel. I really do, and I want touchdowns too, but think back to that game between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys and how many opportunities Dan Campbell had to kick. Had he taken some of those opportunities, those points would have added up and the Lions probably would have won that game. These field goals, while not the first choice, definitely matter. Let's move ahead to the third quarter. So with a 3-point lead, the 49ers are facing 2nd down and 3, typically a running down, and they hand it off to Christian McCaffrey. They decide to block the defensive end with the tight end, with mixed results. But what this does is it allows Colton McKivitz to block the defensive tackle, and this in turn allows Spencer Burford to get upfield. And on the other side, we can see a great double team between Jake Brendel and Jon Feliciano. Christian McCaffrey runs right through the hole. But when we look from this angle, we see that it's not Christian McCaffrey, it's Elijah Mitchell. He's back and healthy again, and Kyle Shanahan starts getting him into a rotation with Christian before the playoffs. Now, it's true that McCaffrey was bothered by some calf soreness in this game, and he will sit out next week, but to be honest, I'm not completely sure it's not something he hasn't been dealing with for most of the season anyway. Down on the goal line, we see that once again George Kittle is tasked with blocking the defensive end, and this allows Trent Williams to block the defensive tackle, in turn allowing Jon Feliciano to get upfield, and on the other side we see a double team with Jake Brendel and Spencer Burford. It's the same play, just flipped to the other side. And with the ball in Elijah Mitchell's hands, we would see the same result. Touchdown 49ers, and they would go up 20-10 in the third quarter this time, a 2-score lead late in the game. But the Commanders would go on a long, monster, clock-killing drive that would take them all the way into the fourth quarter and would be threatening down at the 11-yard line. Nobody's just going to hand the 49ers the number 1 seed. The football gods demand that their defense rise to the occasion and make the stop. And Mooney Ward knows he has no choice but to obey the football gods. For obedience brings victory, and victory is life. Terry McLaurin starts going to the outside, but he immediately cuts back into the inside. But Mooney Ward is all over this route. Last week we talked about how the officials will sometimes tolerate some contact to allow the defender to go get the football, and this is a little bit of an example of it here. Interception, and this is a big defensive play in the game. The 49ers closed the door on the Commanders just when they were threatening. Now, why did Sam Howell throw this football? We can see right here that Nick Bosa had an excellent pass rush. He had to get rid of the ball or take the sack. The Commanders try to respond on defense. They start out with 2 safeties, but one of them is going to drop down because they're going to send the linebacker on the delayed blitz. With 3 receivers on that side of the formation, the other safety shades to that side. With no safety help on that side of the field now, it's a pretty gutsy decision by the rookie Emmanuel Forbes to line up and press coverage against Brandon Aiyuk. Now, I've drawn the line here, and the key thing about this is he stops and is a little bit flat-footed right at the snap of the football. He's beaten immediately off the line. The young rookie is getting an education from Brandon Aiyuk. But he does have some talent. There's a reason the Commanders have him out there, and it's tight coverage, and it's an absolutely perfect laser from Brock Purdy. Oh my goodness, what a throw. And just look at the location of that football. 38-yard gain on the play. Several commentators this week were of the opinion that this was Brock Purdy's best throw of the season, and I think I might agree with them. The big play moves San Francisco into the red zone. The Commanders cannot afford to go down 27-10, but here the 49ers are facing 3rd down and 10. Brock Purdy takes a long look at Deebo Samuel. He might be able to gun it to him and pick up the 1st down, but there's a defender right in Brock Purdy's face, so Purdy decides to buy time. And, as we've seen several times this season, Brock Purdy stands back there and directs traffic like a 10-year veteran. He wants Brandon Aiyuk to run to this spot. The two of them have great chemistry, and together they put up another spectacular play. And here we can see why James Smith-Williams had such a clean shot at Brock Purdy. Spencer Burford simply got picked off. Now, is this legal? It's the kind of thing that the officials will let play out. And ultimately, I really didn't have a problem with the officiating in this game. And finally, here we see just how effective it is when Brandon Aiyuk switches directions. The The 49ers might have needed a minute to wake up on the East Coast, but by the end of this game, they were cooking the Commanders with their offense, both on the ground and through the air. Jake Moody adds the extra point, and they go up 27-10. Down 3 scores with 9 minutes to go, the Commanders need points now, so they take to the skies. But here we see Sam Howell pull this ball down. He sees Fred Warner getting ready to jump this route, so he moves on to his next receiver. The problem is, this takes time, and we can see the receiver is already sitting up at the spot. This allows Deommodore Lenoir time to jump this route as well. Interception, and this would be the final nail in the coffin for the Washington Commanders. That'll about do it, but I have just one more play to show you guys. Nothing too fancy here, they don't pull any guards or tackles, it's just straight round by. If you've listened to any talking head this week, I'm sure you know that we cannot overstate the importance of this. The 49ers are exhausted and banged up. They desperately need a rest. They did not want to go into the last game of the season against a red-hot Rams team trying to fight through injury, winning a must-win, who knows, anything can happen game. Now the 49ers get the luxury of what Tim Kawakami called a double bye. They can rest whoever they want next week, whoever needs it. And they'll have the following week off. Only 2 teams get a bye now in the NFL, one in each conference. In the NFC, it's the San Francisco 49ers, so they're not going to play another meaningful football game for another 3 weeks when they host the divisional round of the playoffs. If they win that game, they will host the NFC Championship game and go on to the Super Bowl. Rust? Don't worry too much about rust. In 1997, the same thing happened. The 49ers rested a lot of their key starters in the final game of the season. They had a first-round bye, and then they crushed the Minnesota Vikings in the divisional round. The much more important priorities here are health and rest. As always, I want to thank the lovely Mrs. Putnam. Without her, I could not do these videos. I want to thank all my new subscribers. We have added a ton of new subscribers this year. We are going to get to 11,000 by the end of the season, if you guys can believe that. It's just been unbelievable. And finally, there's some extra special people I gotta take a minute to thank here, because you guys humble me, you honor me, you allow me to take the time to do these videos right and give you the quality that you deserve. Every week I am just blown away by your generosity. It means so much to me to know that I can count on you guys. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I truly appreciate it. It's been an incredible season, and we still have more to go. Sam Darnold versus the Rams, that's an intriguing matchup. And of course, the NFL playoffs. There is nothing like playoff football. All right, it's going to be Rams at the 49ers in a very interesting matchup. The Rams need to win to maintain their seeding. Otherwise, the 49ers, they cannot move up or down. They have clinched the number 1 seed. They will be resting their key starters. I would like to see Sam Darnold play against his former team. To me, that's an interesting matchup. I think Aaron Banks with his toe will get rest. I think Trent Williams will get rest. Kyle Shanahan has already said Christian McCaffrey is not going to play. Dre Greenlaw, Javon Hargrave, maybe Nick Bosa just out of caution, if nothing else, because he's not really dealing with anything. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. A lot of the other players might see their first significant action in this game, so this is going to be a really fun one to watch. And I don't know what's going to happen in the game, but you know, we are going to be here to break down that film, and I will see you guys then.